Welcome back. I hope I will not mess up your day. The Matrix will provide forensic evidence that there is a consistent pattern of congressional criminal conduct. Before I go there, here are breaking news. The Department of Homeland Security is retaliating against me for having exposed the torture of a man in the ICE facilities in Lafayette, Arkansas. You may remember the case of Hassan Ansari, who lived in the United States since the 80s, had a green card, was married to an American woman, had 2 children with her, and worked as a consultant in information technology, among others, for a couple of government agencies. I reported about the case in my video clip, Chertoff, the Iceman, and the Torture Squad. His father-in-law was a xenophobic who, in order to torpedo their marriage, according to Ansari's wife, fed the DHS with false information. Mr. Ansari was picked up, held in Lafayette, and tortured. And when I say tortured, I don't mean waterboarding. He repeatedly was beaten and tasered to unconsciousness. When the case was picked up by Dawn, an English-language news channel in Pakistan, the reporter investigating it contacted the DHS under FOIA and requested information, only to be confronted as yet with another cover-up. He was told that Mr. Ansari had been illegally in the United States, a blatant lie given the fact that he had been issued a green card. Told that he had been convicted twice of domestic violence, except that I could not find any single case in the court records. Besides, his wife Rose, interviewed about that, denies that there was ever any domestic violence. Could it be that the DHS employee who tortured Mr. Ansari also forged these statements onto a paper Mr. Ansari was forced to sign blank under threat of being sent to Guantanamo? In my case, the DHS blatantly violates the Freedom of Information Act when refusing to provide me with a copy of a letter approving my family's I-130 form. Remember now, I have 5 US-born children, one of which joined the Marine Corps, one is a lawyer, and one a health insurance department manager. I sent an appeal to Janet Napolitano, the DHS secretary, but as expected, no response. The DHS torture cover-up follows a well-established pattern. The torture of prisoners in US jails is widespread and is always covered up when exposed. But then, the American media is not eager to report on it in the first place. Take Florida, for example. The daughter of a state attorney was arrested and smothered until she passed out for 30 minutes. The facts are well established by videotape. I reported about it. When the state attorney uncovered even more torture cases and had 9 guards indicted, Jeb Bush reassigned the case to Herr Schorstein, a known Quaker cover-upper who quickly unindicted the guards despite the video evidence, talking about organized crime. The cover-up goes all the way to the Supreme Court, who denies innocent victims of torture the day in court. There is the case of Canadian engineer Meher Arar, who was outsourced for torture to Syria. When he did not confess, he was eventually released and found totally innocent by the Canadian government. He had no ties whatever to terrorists. The US in turn continues to claim that he has links to terrorism. The Second Circuit ruled that he could not sue US officials, i.e. Ashcroft, and prove in US courts that he is innocent. Take German national Khalid el-Masri, who went on vacation in Macedonia, was confused with al-Masri, a known terrorist, detained and turned over to the CIA, who sent their Black Snatch team to pick him up and fly him to the salt pit, the CIA's covert interrogation center in Afghanistan. Despite the fact that the confusion with al-Masri became evident from the beginning, he was released only after Condi Rice intervened twice, not once, twice, on insistence of German Chancellor Merkel. He was dropped off in the middle of nowhere in the dark of the night. Al-Masri lost everything and today suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder. No help from the German government. The list goes on and includes Mohammed Binyam, a UK citizen, as well as Omar Khadr, a Canadian citizen, and many others. Neither of them could get their day in court after the DOJ argued the state secret's defense. Maybe we should learn from the Italians, who just ruled that the state secret defense cannot be used to cover up crimes committed by government officials. You know, I'm scared. No, not from me. I'm protected by a dead man switch, which releases the evidence of an ongoing congressional bribery scheme involving 59 senators and congressmen, from Bill Nelson to James Sensenbrenner to Jeff Sessions, to you name it, which will release the evidence if I don't access the internet for more than 72 hours or my access pattern changes. No, I'm scared for you. Think about for a second. 59 elected officials accept money from parties to litigation in return for ex parte contacts to judges for the purpose to intimidate them to obstruct justice and rule in favor of the known payor. Don't get me wrong, I have supported Obama from day one and still do. However, his administration's policy to cover up criminal conduct sets the stage for even more crimes as soon as the Republicans are back in office, and that scares the hell out of me.
I would absolutely do it again, Bob.
Mark my word, when that day comes, torture is the least of your problems. Remember my report on Raymond Lemme, who confided to Clint Curtis that the case of the vote fraud software ordered by Thomas Feeney goes all the way to the top, as high as you can imagine? 2 weeks later, he was lured to Valdosta, Georgia, and killed there. I reported about it. The Republican police chief of Valdosta quickly ruled the case a suicide and claimed that the flash card of the CSI who investigated the crime scene failed. We got hold of the files on the flash card and had no problems restoring it, showing that Mr. Lemme was choked to death. The FBI knows about the case but did nothing. Remember the case of Mike Connell, the IT guru who designed the Republicans' communication structure, including the out-of-state server that handled the Ohio election data. When he was subpoenaed to testify in Ohio, Karl Rove threatened him that unless he agreed to be the fall guy, his wife would be prosecuted. The Cheney death squad did one better. They tampered with Connell's airplane. When Connell used it on December 19, 2008, despite a warning not to, he crashed. I reported about it. Guess what? The FAA, who investigated the crash, never reported anything unusual. In fact, they remained silent. The DOJ, in turn, knew about it but did nothing. Now, apparently, Janet Napolitano thinks in Europe we don't have the internet. We live in caves. It follows that once I am in Europe, I cannot investigate. Janet, bring it on. You have no idea what you're getting involved in. Oh, by the way, it appears that I found 3 other cases concerning torture in ICE facilities. Want to talk? This was part 1. Part 2 will follow shortly. I promise it will be better than cable TV. It will deal with the pattern of corruption and the forensic methodology to discover it. Take care. Have a beautiful Sunday.